Hello, welcome to another Python Flask video tutorial. In this video, we're going to be covering forms. Now, whenever we are on a website, we're not only absorbing information, we're also looking for information. So we may, for example, on YouTube, search for a particular video or search for a particular uh, subject of interest and receive a bunch of videos relating to that subject of interest. Or maybe on social media, we may want to log into a website, so we may put in our username, we put in our password, and we click submit, and we get back a dashboard, for example, or newsfeed if we're on social media. So in this video, we're going to be describing exactly how that process works and how we can implement that within Flask. Now so here is my sample project before we start. It's just displaying hello world. It's got one hyperlink, login, and we go to a route called /login and we display with this page. We're going to try and replicate a login page on this particular URL. Now now to get information from a user, we need an input field for me to put in my name or my password. So in HTML, this is easily done. I'm going to go to login.html. And this is easily done using what is called the input tag. So if I type in input like so, with no attributes at all, and I refresh my page, then I get an empty input field where I can put in some stuff. Now initially this is useless because I really can't do anything with it. So let's fancy it up by adding some features to it. So I can just put in username over here. I can also put in a placeholder in it. So enter text. And I'm going to give it a name. Now this name, the usefulness of this name will become apparent later in the video. Let's save that, refresh, and there we go. It looks a bit cleaner now. Let's go back and make another one, and this time for our password. So we'll put in our password, give it a name, password, and enter password. If we refresh now, and there we go. So I can put in username there, and I can put in my password there. Notice my password is being displayed in clear text. We can get around this by adding a special attribute to the input tag by making it of type password. So if I put an attribute type is equal to password and I refresh and I put in my password, you can see now it becomes just black dots. For clarity and my sanity, I am going to just put in a clear text so I can know what I'm typing. Okay, so we have our two fields necessary. I'm just going to break them so they look a little cleaner. Now we also need a submit button. So I'm going to do that by having another input tag, this time specifying the type to be submit. We can also put a value being equal to submit, and this is what is displayed on the button that's created. So unlike the previous two input tags, this one is created as a button. And that is because we've specified the type to be submit inside the attribute. Okay, so there is my fields done. So let's put in my username, which is maybe my name, and my password, 123, and I click submit. Nothing is happening. So I click submit and nothing has happened. What should happen? Well, let's think about this. If I click submit, I want to retrieve information, or I want to send information to someone somewhere, and that someone somewhere is dependent on us. So that's our server. So if I'm hosting a website and I want people to log in, well, obviously they'd put in their details, send those details to my server. We can verify those details and then send them back whether it's incorrect or correct. So we need to submit some sort of request. And to do that, we need to use what is called a form. We need to wrap our fields in form tags. So whenever we want to send data to our servers, whenever we want the client to send data to our servers, we use a form. So now if I save this and refresh, and I put in extra information, and click submit, nothing has happened again. Nothing has happened from our web page perspective, but as you can see in the browser, this has appeared. And if we look at our web page in our terminal output, we can see that a get login with these parameters has been specified. So to make that a bit more obvious, I'm going to do a split screen. Okay, so now let's go ahead and remove the form tags that we just wrote. So here it is, I've saved it. Now let's refresh our page. So there you can see the get request for /login has been sent. That's whenever I click enter over here. And if I put in my username one more time, 123, and click submit, notice nothing is being submitted over here. Now if I go over here and put in my form, and I again refresh my page, and I put in my details and click submit, notice the request has been sent. Now there's one fatal problem with this, in that my password is being displayed up here. And in fact, if we look at the terminal output, we can see that the request name or the request type of this is get. Now, this is potentially very dangerous when we're dealing with password or sensitive information. And that is because these requests are cached. And as well as in general, the practice is not to use get requests for sensitive information. What we want instead is to use a post request. So let's go to our code, and in our form, we can specify the method to be used. And in this case, we don't want get, we want post. So post is used whenever you want to send sensitive information to our servers. Get is usually used for when you want to just grab information, such as if you're building a search engine like YouTube and you just want to retrieve information for a video, then you use get requests over there. If we're sending sensitive information like login details, then we use post. So let's save our work now and try to enter in this information again. So Hussein 123, and click submit. Let's get rid of all of that. Okay, Hussein 123, click submit. Okay, we're going to get method not allowed. The method is not allowed for the requested URL. Let's have a look at our terminal output, and we can see that a post is in fact a post request is being sent. What's going on over here? Well, it's a very subtle issue with our routes. So in our route, we want to specify what type of requests this route accepts. By default, the only request being accepted is get, but we want to specify that a post request is also allowed. So in your app.route decorator, add a list or add a parameter specifying the request it can accept. So here we accept the get, but we also accept post. Okay, let's go back again and submit our request. Okay, now notice nothing has happened, and notice that the password's not appearing in our URL search engine as well. And if we go back to our browser, go back to our terminal output, and we can see in fact the post is being sent and to the /login route. Okay, then the request is being sent through my HTML. Then how do I actually process this data? How do I grab the username? How do I grab the password? I may want to check it against some sort of database, or I may want to maybe want to check search up for video content if it's a search engine for YouTube. So how do I do that? Well, the request is being sent to /login. So obviously we need to write some code down in this route. And the most important thing, or the most important concept for grabbing request details, is using a global object from Flask called request. So this object is a class that contains all of the information and data we would need to process a request. So let's go down in here and let's write some code. So here we want to grab out information from our request when it is a post request. So we need to go something like if request is post. Now obviously this won't compile, but the equivalent in Python is writing if request dot method. So a method is an attribute belonging to the request object, is equal to post. So if my request dot method is a post, I do something in here. To verify this is working, let's print out hello world in here. So only when is it a post request this will work. So let's go back. Let's refresh our page. And that was a GET request, so we shouldn't get anything. Okay, so no terminal output. If we submit a form, now we should get some terminal output, and we do in fact get hello world. That's because we wrap this around in an if statement. Okay, within this if statement, what do I want to do? Well, I want to retrieve login details. So I want to grab my username somehow from this request object. And to do that, you need to use the .form attribute. And this .form is a dictionary which is keyed by the name of your input. So in other words, this attribute, this is where the usefulness comes in. So whatever you've put in into here is the name of this particular input. So if I want to grab my username from here, I have to type in request.form at name or username. So it's the name of this attribute. And let's do the same for password. Request.form at, and let's have a look at what we called it. We called it password with a capital P. Let's make it a small p just for simplicity's sake. Let's copy and paste that. Okay, we've retrieved now our username and password data. Let's print them out so we can display them on the terminal. Okay, let's refresh this page and type in my name and a password 123, submit. Okay, nothing has happened, but we should get some terminal output, and yes we do. We get Hussein and 123, which is the exact text we wrote into the input field. And usually in applications now, we won't just print out username or password. We may check if the username exists and password is correct. So we may do many things over here, and eventually we may log in the user and whatever that means. So that's application dependent. I won't focus on that in this video. All I wanted really to show is how we send a form and how we process that form over here. And that is all for this video. Thank you for watching.